Do we start? Do we talk Floyd Mayweather? Do we talk the fact he would like to get into promotion? Do we talk Lascano? It's all going on for Ricky Hatton at the moment.
We'll start with the first one, or the last one. Start with the last one. Lascano. He fights him on May 24th. Sold out, 55,000 people, and it's in real time. It's in British time. It's not one of those 3 o'clock in the morning gigs. And there's going to be 55,000 people, mostly men, mostly aged between about 18 and 35. Fantastic age group for spending money. And those 55,000 people are going to flood out of the city of Manchester Stadium into the centre of Manchester. It's going to be a great carnival because that's what the fight's about. It's a homecoming. It's a thank you to the 50-odd thousand fans who on 3 occasions in 2007 paid a lot of money, lied to their girlfriends, lied to their wives. It's the truth, they did. I'm telling you, they did. And they slipped out to Las Vegas for 3 fantastic fights. One of them wasn't a great ending, but it was a massive occasion. And this is a homecoming, it's a thank you. And I've read 1 or 2 of my colleagues in the press saying, oh, Lascano's not this, he's not that. Forget it, it's not about Lascano, he's just an opponent. It's a homecoming. They did a family package on this one, where you could get 3 tickets for the price of 4, and there was 14,000 tickets priced under 35 quid. That's fantastic. That's why it's such a great event. It's not about a fight. It's a fight second, it's an event first. So that takes care of that. He beats Lascano, should be fantastic, fantastic homecoming, everyone's happy, blah, 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 all that Paul Merton stuff, Merson rather. And then we go into town. Now we fast forward to September, October. We have Paulie Malignaggi on the undercard. He's defending his title against Lovemore Ndu on the undercard. It's a great fight. IBF light welterweight title fight. That's on the undercard. That's the fight of the night as far as I'm concerned. Now what this does, in theory, if Malignaggi wins and if Ricky wins, they fight each other September, October, probably at Madison Square Garden in New York. Malignaggi is an Italian-American from New York. Fantastic. It's beautiful. Ricky, imagine the amount of fans who go to Madison Square Garden. It holds 20,000, they could probably sell 40,000.
A little bit of...
Sue, you're seeing it, Sue.
Do you know I'm seeing it? I'm thinking myself.
The girlfriends and wives go along to New York, they really do. We've had that a couple of times. We had that with Lennox once and we had that with Naz. It's simple. Bosh, they go along for 3 days, the boys go on the booze, the women go and shop. It sounds terribly sexist, it's not, it's just the reality of taking your girlfriend or wife to New York in October or November. So they go there, he fights Malignaggi in September, October, which is a brilliant fight. And not an easy fight for him to win. Malignaggi is deceptive, he's clever, he's tricky, he's slick. Ricky doesn't like deceptive, clever and tricky. That's not what Ricky likes.
Sounds like Mayweather.
Bosh, absolutely one. He is the White Mayweather. That's one of his nicknames, in fact. You know, he is just like a White Mayweather, but without the power, we hope. So that happens in October. We'll get to the end of this story. Now we address point 3, which is, does he fight Floyd Mayweather next year at Wembley? Guaranteed 100,000 sellout, or the Millennium guaranteed, you know, 80,000 sellout. That fight could happen. You know, this is Ricky at the weigh-in last year. This is when a lot of people think he lost the fight. This fight could happen. The rematch of this could happen. Not because it deserves a rematch, but because it makes so much cash common sense. Floyd wants it. However,
particularly in this country.
It's got only in this country. It only works in this country because of the gate, the live gate. I think they took $12 million on the gate when they fought in December. They could take 25 million quid on the gate here. That's a lot of money. That makes fights happen. However, Mayweather has got his eyes on a rematch with Oscar De La Hoya. Bear in mind, these two split something like $250 million last May in the most lucrative fight in boxing history. Mayweather is looking at De La Hoya. De La Hoya is looking at Mayweather. I know we're going to talk about De La Hoya in a minute. I preempted that slightly. So for Ricky to fight Mayweather next year, he's got to win 2 fights. And for Mayweather to fight Ricky next year, he's got to beat De La Hoya in September. So there's a lot of ifs involved. But boxing, good boxing, is like a good game of chess. Not a bad game of chess, a good game of chess. Bobby Fischer at his peak, if you'll bear with me. And he's not looking at this move or that move. He's looking 10 moves in front. And that's what a good promoter does. And that moves on to Ricky as a potential promoter.
Yeah, what do you think about this? Ricky Hatton wants to become a promoter. Him and his dad's looking to get involved, say that they're going to try and change the way people promote. They're saying they're going to pay the fighters more, they'll make less as promoters, but therefore the cards will be far stronger, because if you pay fighters more money, you can have more big-name fights, hence having Paul Malignaggi on his undercard.
It's a good idea, and it's a lovely idea, and it's what Golden Boy Promotions have done. That's Oscar De La Hoya's company. And by the way, Oscar De La Hoya's company, Golden Boy, will generate $1 billion in 2008 in pay-per-view and gate. So that's a big company. De La Hoya has got into it, and he is paying great money. The one difference is, on a De La Hoya bill, there are no easy fights. Every fight is good. Every fight is hard. Every fight is proper. Now, Ricky could promote here, but he's going to have to promote people in proper fights every single time. Now, that's lovely, but the reality of boxing is that doesn't happen. You can't put on 8 50-50 blockbusters every year because you could, in theory, lose 8 of your fighters to 8 overseas fighters who can't draw flies in this country. So, you know, boxing's a business, a fantastic sport. First and foremost, it's a business. So you can't have too many great nights of boxing where your house fighter gets knocked off. Andy, so you know enough about the way boxing works, and that's the way it works. A business first.
You imagine though the likes of Ricky and Dad, it's Ray, isn't it?
Right, Raymondo.
And they'd be quite keen to get the likes of Matthew on the card, for example. Would that be enough to drive cards, Ricky and his brother Matthew?
No, I think it would. You'd get a good house of it, but Matthew would have to be, and he's a good little fighter, Matthew. He'd have to be in a fight against one of the top 5 welterweights in Britain, instead of going overseas and finding someone who looks good on paper, but's nowhere near as good as the top 5 in Britain. So for Ricky to make it work. Ricky and his dad Ray to make it work, and they are boxing fans first and foremost, they'd have to put on some great fights. If they put on great fights, and they put them on 6 or 7 times a year, they could become major players in the promotional game in this country.
Steve, do you think he's looking at the promotional game now because he's thinking, as you were just saying, about the chess moves, thinking ahead, looking at the long-term future? If he does get the rematch with Mayweather and make the step back up a weight division, which a lot of people, including Billy Graham, have said doesn't really work for him. If he does make that rematch and he loses it, do you think then he'd be thinking, right, that's it, forget it, I'll walk away from boxing and I'll look now at promotion instead?
I think he would. I think he needs to get Mayweather out of his head. He's disappointed with his performance last year. We're disappointed with his performance, so he's a better fighter than the guy that got outboxed and knocked out by Mayweather. I think he needs to get out of his system. Even if he loses again, at least he'll know in his heart. And he'll have more than enough money then to retire. The big thing is, and a lot of boxers in history, Mike Tyson, Nassim Hamid in the last 10 years, they've talked boldly, they've talked heroically about what they're going to do to the promotional game, how they're going to change it. And when it comes to doing it, when it comes to changing it, they find themselves a little bit light in the old skyrocket, in the old pocket area. Now that's what Oscar De La Hoya didn't do. Oscar De La Hoya went, bosh, there's my wallet. There's 50 million in there. In 2 years' time, I'm going to be the top promoter in the world. And he spent a lot of that money. He's now reaping it back. It depends if Ray and Ricky, working under Oscar's umbrella, as, I don't know, Golden Boy UK, Golden Boy GB, GB, that's quite nice. It remains to be seen whether they're going to have the guts. And it takes guts to put that much money out on the table. If they've got the guts, they could take over in 2 or 3 years in this country. I'm convinced of that.
We shall see. Well, we had